Good morning, my fellow Malaysians. This is Dr. K.N. Singh from JB again. Our country has been gripped with the ongoing saga of the purchase of the second generation ships for the Royal Malaysian Navy. These littoral combat ships, LCS as they are called, were ordered by the Najib government uh, for 9.2 billion ringgit, of which 6.2 billion was paid in advance to Bastard Naval Shipyard before any ship was delivered. Apparently, the Royal Malaysian Navy wanted the Sigma class ships designed by the Netherlands Damen Naval Shipyard, as these were already in service with the Moroccan and the Indonesian navies. According to the Special Committee on Governance Investigation and Government Procurement and Finance, who conducted a forensic audit on the LCS project in 2019, the change of design was then done by the Defense Minister Ahmad Zaidi Hamidi in 2011. He changed from Sigma class, which the Royal Malaysian Navy wanted, to Govin class of ships, which were designed by the French defense firm DCNS Naval Group. He initially greenlit the RMN decision to use the Sigma design, but changed his mind in less than 2 months following the recommendations of the project contractor, Bastard Naval Shipyard Berhad. The Govin class were not proven, and they were not big enough for the intended use for which the Royal Malaysian Navy wanted them, so they rejected them. Publicly available information shows that the Govin class design was originally a series of corvettes displacing 1,000 to 2,500 tons, and they were modified to fit the LCS design to meet the Royal Malaysian Navy's specifications. Public Accounts Committee also found that the primary issue was the contract, which was for 9.2 billion ringgit, of which 6.2 billion was given in advance before any ship was delivered. There was a 40% completed ship that was shown to the public, and an inauguration was done by the Sultan of Perak, for which they put up a mast spending 400,000 ringgit, and this mast was taken down and put in storage. The ship is still unfinished and not been delivered to date. Let's look at their contract background. The contract was awarded after Abdul Zaid Hamidi changed his mind and given to BNS, which was the Bastard Naval Shipyard, by direct negotiations. There were no tenders called at all. BNS subcontracted this job to multiple times to French Naval Group, which were actually the infamous contractors for the two Scorpion-class submarines, the deal which has still been investigated by the French authorities. The main findings of the Public Accounts Committee were the views of the Royal Malaysian Navy were totally ignored by the minister. Due diligence failed to highlight Bastard Naval Shipyard's financial difficulties, and this was critical because there was then abuse of power to try and bail them out. CAD and CED, which were the contractors appointed by Bastard Naval Shipyard, both incurred heavy losses. The contract terms were very weak and they were unfavorable to the government. Cost was overrun by 1.4 billion ringgit. There was an inventory held which amounted to 1.7 billion, which had 15% of obsolete stuff that was of no use to anyone. All this is found in the Public Accounts Committee report on the 4th of August 2022. Now, Bastard Naval Shipyard appointed a CAD, which was Contravenes Advanced Devices, as a subcontractor for two packages. Now, they in turn appointed CES with a final cost of 1.185 billion. Now the DCNS, the final supplier who was to deliver the ship, only charged 397 million. So each time a subcontractor was appointed, the cost went up 30% rather, increasing the cost by 3 times. Now this is due to the multi-layering that YB Rafizi was talking about. From 397 million to a whopping 1.185 billion for the same product. According to the PAC report, the CAD and CES were joint ventures between Bousted Heavy Industry Corporation, which had a 51% stake, and Rheintal Metal Air Defense AG, which had 49% stakes. So it looks like they were siphoning out money to themselves. In the Scorpion deal, the scandal involved Abdul Razak Bakinda, who was Najib's associate, and the French judge in April this year charged the defense firm Thales, which is also one of the LCS project suppliers, with bribery to secure the Scorpion deal. Now this is what the Malaysian public wants to know. Why are the culprits not charged, as those involved in the Scorpion and the LCS deals are already known? Why was the LCS deal given to a supplier already suspected and charged for corruption? Charging and finding culprits guilty is not enough. We need to know what happened to the money that was stolen from the riot. Najib is a very good example. He is in jail, but he has not paid his fine, and the money he stole is still with him. It would be reasonable to seize his and his family assets, and these be sold to recover the money for the riot. It's not enough to serve a jail sentence if you have the intention of coming out and enjoying the money once you are free. It is ridiculous there's even talk of pardon for Najib now. Unlike those involved, they must be charged if they are found guilty and dealt by appropriate jail sentences. Their family property must be seized to compensate the Malaysian taxpayers. Justice cannot be seen to be done unless this is carried out. When ministers and past Prime Minister Najib is at fault and they order subordinates in the civil service to approve wrong things, it is very difficult to blame the civil servants. But then they have to come out and say that they were asked to do this under duress, so proper action can be taken. Our leaders and politicians are elected to serve the people, and here we see all they are doing is enriching themselves and their families and cronies with the money that should have been spent on the nation's defenses. Let's see how this LCS saga ends. The people are watching, and I'm sure they will reply with the ballot box in the next election. Malaysians are wiser now, and I'm happy to see many Malays voices speaking up when they see wrong done by Malays who have governed us in the past 70 years. Meanwhile, I urge my fellow Malaysians to pray to God, whatever name you choose to call him, to give our politicians and leaders the wisdom to lead. Please give our Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim the courage to clean up this corrupt baggage that the riot has been forced to carry by our unscrupulous leaders for the past 70 years. We have to continue to pay for the next 25 years as well. Can you believe it? I speak for most of you, and there will be some who do not agree with me, but please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below so I can be guided for my future podcasts. Meanwhile, God bless Malaysia. Thank you for listening, my fellow Malaysians. Till I see you again, take care.